They're like, who am I? I have lost myself. I've given everything to everybody else, but I don't know who I am. And it's from a lot of different reasons. Many of us are people pleasers, me included. That's one of my top saboteurs, is a pleaser. We're taught by society, even just unconsciously, that we are the caregivers and we take care of everybody. And it's really hard for us to put that oxygen mask on ourselves before we help other people.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, welcome to my podcast, The Jeff Sutherland Show, and I'm the one and only Jeff Sutherland with my co-host Chase Waldron, and I'm excited to have him here today. In fact, Chase has one of the fastest growing real estate practices in Arizona. You're just killing it lately, Chase, so congratulations. Together, we're on a mission to help consumers have a better experience when they choose to buy or sell real estate. And we also want to bring the best and brightest people from around the country onto this podcast to share their stories. And we're hoping that this story today impacts your life. I really believe it will. Hopefully something our guests say always has a lasting impact on your business and your life. And by the way, Chase, real quick, didn't you celebrate a big milestone yesterday?
Yeah, it was we had a birthday yesterday. It was a big 30 years. So it's pretty crazy to think about. I still feel like I'm just out of high school, but it's not so. But yeah, we had a good day yesterday, man. It was amazing.
Good. 30 years old. Congratulations. Sweet. Yeah. So Chase, today we're fortunate to have a highly skilled real estate coach. Not only is she an excellent real estate coach, she's becoming a good friend of mine. But I'll tell you, she's has coached countless people in better decisions, not just for their businesses, but for their lives. And I think there's really two types of coaches out there. I think there's coaches out there that teach what to do, and there's coaches out there that have actually done it at a high level, and they also know how to teach it. And I just think it hits a little bit different when you're dealing with a coach that has actually done the work. And Shannon's one of those people. This is Shannon Miller-Lutz, and she hails from Florida. And I'm lucky to be launching a cutting-edge real estate coaching company with her and a few other really good coaches. Her track record is incredible, and I can't wait for you all to meet her today. So welcome, Shannon, to the show.
Hello. First off, happy birthday, Chase. I hear turning 30 and I'm like, gosh, that was lifetimes ago. My son's going to be 30 this summer. So, wow.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Great to have you on the show. We're excited to have you here.
Thanks.
So Shannon, we'd love to hear your story, my friend. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how have you arrived to where you're at today?
Well, it's been more than 30 years. So it's been a long and winding road, but I know we're going to get into it. The overview of my story is really, I've been in the real estate space since 1993. I started as a processor and a lender, and my ex-husband started doing appraisals when we were in college in the 80s. And so I would type those up for extra money on an actual typewriter with carbon paper for those old people. So I had been all around real estate, and I finally got my sales license in 2006, right as the bubble was starting to lose its air. And so I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2006. And as my business grew, I didn't really understand how to avoid overwhelm and burnout. So in my best year, I looked really, really successful on the outside, but I was burnout. I was not happy. I was ignoring my health. I was ignoring my relationships. It was just work 24/7, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to. And I got to the point where I was like, something has to change. And so here I am as a coach now.
Wow. So before we go to Chase, I just want to say you got licensed in 2006. That was one of the hardest years, if not the hardest year I've ever had in 25 years. I can't even imagine that you got into business then because sales were plummeting like a rock. The equity was just getting sucked out of the market.
Yeah, dude. it was late '06 that I got my license. It was August. So between August and the end of the year, I think I did 2 rentals and that was it. And then '07, I sold, I think 7 houses and I was doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Yeah. Jeff shot me over some of just your track record. I mean, before you started coaching, right? You obviously were super successful. I mean, in 2014, you did 37, the next year 40, and then 50, 55 the following. I mean, how did you get to that level of doing that many transactions, especially by yourself, in 1 year?
Well, you said those years. I had been in the business for a little bit. And when I got into real estate, my son was 11 years old. He was in middle school, and I had part-time custody of him. So I'm a single mom. I had no choice but to make this work. Like, I could not be a failure. So I did whatever it took. And I think one of the great things about starting real estate in a challenging market is you have to do the basics. The people that get in when it's easy, the minute it turns, they don't know what to do. So that was really a blessing in hindsight that I started in a market that was tough and I learned the basics. I'm the kind of person that is all about relationships. So I built my business by referral. And so I just started reaching out to everybody that I had known in different parts of my life and offered to help them buy or sell real estate. So it was all by referral.
Wow. I'm going to go a little off script. You said about being a single mom, and that really grabbed me. There's thousands and thousands of single moms in real estate and other industries. And do you have any advice to them? Because that is tough. I can't even imagine how hard that would be as a single mother to do this.
It's really tough. And, I think about the women that have babies when they're in real estate. Like, babies are a lot more time consuming than a middle schooler, especially a middle schooler boy who wants nothing to do with, mom who's annoying. Right. So I think it's really about, the great thing about real estate is I was able to do my schedule where I could be home when he came home from school, even if I had to go back out. That's one of the joys of being self-employed. So I would make sure that I scheduled my day so I could at least be home when he got home. We talked about a plan for homework, get a snack, check in. And then I would either go back out to show houses or I would work, at the dining room table. And it's really about embracing that idea of flexibility and making it work for you. Because I had part-time custody of him. We had a week on and a week off. The weeks that I didn't have him, I went balls to the walls. Right. I worked all the time. And then the weeks that I had him, I made sure that I, spent enough time with him. But it's a challenge.
That's awesome. And it is cool though that real estate can give us that flexibility to flex our hours. I see that as a blessing.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm dying to know. You had this great career and you were killing it and you were producing quite a bit. And then you decided to be a coach.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about this major metamorphosis? Can you tell us the process and the big why behind this decision? I'd love you to expand on this and help us understand that.
Okay. So I think we all come to different points in our lives, right? There's a lot of different chapters. And so I had reached this milestone of turning 50. And much like many people that have midlife crises around this age, I was like, what am I doing? What is life? Like, what is this it? Come on. No, this sucks. Because I was just working constantly. I was making more money than I ever had, which was great. But money's not my driver. Money's not my driver. That's not how I feel worthy. So for my 50th birthday, I'm a big Broadway lover. And when I say Broadway lover, I mean fanatic stalker. Like, seriously, it's all Broadway all the time. So my husband says, well, what do you want to do for your 50? And I was like, duh, go to New York. So luckily we were, still living in the Baltimore area and it's a hop, skip, and a jump to New York. So I would go all the time. We went up to New York and we saw the musical Hamilton, which by now everybody knows about Hamilton. At the time, it had just transferred from off-Broadway at the Public Theater to Broadway. And the album wasn't out. Nobody really knew. They just had a couple snippets from a couple songs, And by intermission, I was bawling. I mean, sobbing. And I'm like, what? Why am I so impacted by rapping founding fathers? Like, this is crazy, right? Well, if you don't know about musicals and specifically, there's always a theme. So like Fiddler on the Roof, the theme is, tradition. And so the theme of Hamilton is legacy. And this is what I learned over the next couple of years was really making me react so strongly was this idea of legacy. And I didn't know what my legacy was. And so after that trip, at the time I had a production coach, which obviously, production was great because this was 2015 when I turned 50. And I worked with that coach for a couple more years, and I just kept wanting to have these deep conversations. And he goes, look, I think you need to talk to a transformational coach. And I did. I talked to my transformational coach, and within like 5 minutes, I was like, yes, sign me up. I want to have these deep, deep conversations about life, about purpose and mission and legacy, because I am past middle age. I'm not going to be 100. So what are we doing here, people? What are we doing? Right? We only get one life that we know of. So what am I doing? And yes, I loved real estate. I loved being a part of my client's story of, here's the house where I'm going to raise my kids or, whatever. Like I loved being part of their story. But I felt like coaching was a more in-depth way to help people not only be a part of their story, but to help them create the story that they really wanted, that they didn't think maybe was possible, to find their superpowers and to really step into their authenticity and be the best version of themselves. So when they get to the end of their life, they're not like, well, that was a waste. Because that to me is the saddest thing is, getting to the end of your life and being like, well, shit, what just happened?
Yeah. What was I doing? What was I doing that whole time?
And then it's too late. It's too late.
That's for sure.
I want to unpack that transformational coach conversation, right? What did you learn in that conversation? What did you take out of it?
Well, besides the purpose, really digging into my why. We've all heard about our why, and we hear the Simon Sinek book and, finding your why and everything. And I had really struggled with that. I was like, what is my why? It's my son, because if it's not my son, don't I suck as a parent? But it didn't energize me. But I didn't know how to find it. And so with those conversations with my coach, I was able to start unpacking that a little bit more. And let me tell you, if you're still looking for your why, it's not a simple thing. And it's usually not some long, flowery sentence of like, blah, 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 blah. Like I hear some people and I was like, that's not a why, people. That sounds good. You think that sounds good. That's not it. Until it makes you cry, that's not your why. Or react strongly.
I wonder what like the percentage of people actually know their why.
I think a lot of people think they know it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we dug into that. We dug into values, just all kinds of personal development conversations, the things that were holding me back, the limiting beliefs, the fears, just everything from soup to nuts with mindset, and what did I really envision my life to be? And I had grown up, well, I've lived a lot of places. So I was born in Chicago, grew up in Nashville, went to Florida State originally because my Chicago grandparents had a condo down in Pompano, and child of divorce, we would spend, the week between Christmas and New Year's down in Florida. And I was like, whoa, what is this magical warm place? I love this. So I wanted to live in Florida. I went to Florida State, which technically isn't Florida because it's in the Panhandle. And I don't know if you know, but they just got snow there. It's crazy. Insane. So, but I met a boy, spring break, from Maryland. And at 19 years old, when I met him, I was really broken. I was very insecure. I was trying to fill a hole. And after a year, I chased him to Maryland. I gave up my dream. And so I had this 34-year detour in Maryland, which, I wouldn't give up for anything. I have my son. I have my current husband. I had a great career there and I have great friends. But I'm back in Florida. I'm in St. Pete now, living the dream. Is it perfect? No. But this was the vision that I had for my life. And so many of us, I think, well, when I retire, I'll do it, or when I, someday, and then someday never happens, or you're too old to make it happen. And so my coach really pushed me to be like, if that's really your dream, if that's what you're putting on your vision board, we need to make some actual movements towards that. And it was scary, but he was there to hold my hand.
It's interesting. One last thing before we head over to Chase, because I love this conversation. I do a lot of coaching as well, and I've coached a lot of women over the years, probably more women than men. And, I start talking to women in their 40s and their 50s, and some of them, they just seem like empty vessels because they've worked so hard to help their children. They've worked so hard to be there for their husband. They're all things to everybody, and they haven't done anything for themselves. And, and they don't have anything for themselves. And I don't know what to say, except listen, you need to start taking care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, who are you going to be for everybody else? Have you experienced that?
100,000%. And it's not just in real estate. So I coach people outside of real estate as well, but I focus on, people in the industry. But I see it all the time. They get to a point in their life, whether it's 50 like me or some other age, maybe it's 30 or 40 or whatever. And they're like, who am I? I have lost myself. I've given everything to everybody else, but I don't know who I am. And it's from a lot of different reasons. Many of us are people pleasers, me included. That's one of my top saboteurs, is a pleaser. We're taught by society, even just unconsciously, that we are the caregivers and we take care of everybody. And it's really hard for us to put that oxygen mask on ourselves before we help other people. So yes, I think that's a huge problem, and why I'm really passionate about not only coaching, women and men in real estate, because it doesn't say men don't have those existential crises as well, but people outside of real estate, women specifically. I do have a special women's group that I invite people in to have these kind of conversations where they can find that joy. Maybe it means a new career, but maybe it means just finding joy in your life. You just don't know how to find it anymore.
Yeah. And I think I wanted to just note that was a great point when you were talking about when you were going through these things with your coach, right? And identifying, hey, where do you want to be? And then putting actions into place, right? Because a lot of times you hear about it, you set these big audacious goals, but you don't really map out the game plan to doing it. And then next thing you know, years go by and you're not anywhere any closer, right? Yeah. So that was a great point. So the clients that you coach, do you coach clients all over the nation?
Yeah. Gotcha. Just like my real estate business is all by referral. It's usually people that I know or meet in passing. It's relationship based. So I started out coaching with the agents in my market center in Maryland. I'm still a Keller Williams agent in my market center there. I have my license hanging in referral status. And so those are the people I said, hey, I'm starting this career as a coach. Can I coach you? So I still have some clients up there in Maryland. I have clients down here in Florida. I just spent today going around to different brokers' opens and pitch meetings to meet with some people that I know or want to know. And I actually I have a client in Hawaii who I met just on a Facebook group. So they're all over the place. This is how I coach. You can have a Zoom call or you can have a phone call. It's your preference. But yeah, this is how I do it. And it allows me to reach as many people as possible.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And because I know you mentioned that you do real estate professionals and people outside of real estate, but for the people in real estate, what are some of the major issues that you see that they have? What are some of the kind of reoccurring hurdles that they run into?
I'm sure Jeff is going to agree with me, but I wish I was more consistent. Like I need to be more consistent. I need to focus. I need to do the things that I say I'm going to do. And how can I be more consistent? And the problem is, right, we get all these tips. Oh, to be consistent, do this, that, and the other. It seems simple, but what's getting in our way is this. And a lot of coaches don't address this. So if you're not addressing this and you use willpower to be consistent for a couple of days and then willpower, runs out, you have to keep loading it into your body, then you feel like a failure. You're like, oh, see, there I go. I can never be consistent. Then we're doubling down on this. And so this guy's running the show instead of you running it. But consistency is the number one thing. Consistency and time blocking.
Yeah, that's super interesting, because we were kind of talking earlier about how it's, you have the flexibility in your schedule, right? Being a real estate professional, you don't have somebody you have to clock into every single day. And that definitely comes with some consequences if you're not able to hold yourself accountable and do what is required, right?
Yeah.
When you bring a new agent on, Shannon, what's your intake process like? Like, what's your mind? How are you walking them through the first steps, right? Because I'm sure you have a good system, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us more.
So first, for the intake, what I do is I send them a form and I ask them to give me your production for the last couple of years. Let's see the trends. What are the areas of your life? We kind of go through the wheel of life just in questions like, how is this part of your life? How is this part of your life? So they send that to me. And then we spend probably 2 to 3 hours over a couple of days, give them a break, come back. We'll do another hour tomorrow. We dig down into this intake form. So I get a really good picture of, is your marriage about to implode? Okay, that needs to be addressed. I don't want to get 3 months into a coaching relationship and then find out that their marriage is on the rocks. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I spend a lot of time before even the official coaching calls that they pay me for. So we spend 2 to 3 hours going over the intake form. And then, like I said, with the consistency and the time blocking, one of the first things that I work with everybody is their calendar. What does your calendar look like? What's your relationship with your calendar? How do you feel when you look at your calendar? Are you doing what's on the calendar? Or are you just doing whatever you want during the day? So we really dig into your calendar. Is it paper? Is it, electronic? It doesn't matter. But you got to have one. And where do we need to address some shortcomings on your calendar? I had one client that she was putting everything that she could possibly do. So all the little networking things, they were all on her calendar. And then in theory, she was like, I'll just pick whichever I want that day. Well, the problem is I said, how do you feel when you look at your calendar? And she goes, overwhelmed. So I said, on your weekly planning session, which I lead my clients through a weekly planning session, I want you to look ahead at your week and I want you to pick the things that you're going to do and delete everything else. Because she was putting everything on there and she was doing nothing.
Yeah.
So when she got really clear of what she wanted to accomplish this week, take everything else off, then she was able to actually do those things.
I love that you put a lot of thought process into this. You have an intake form, so you gather all this information, you identify areas that could be a big problem, and you know exactly where to start. And then, it's fun talking to other coaches because I do the same thing. I have them open up their calendar, if it's on, a Google Calendar or whatever, and I look at it with them and reconstruct it, color code it, make it so it's, something that they can get excited about. Yeah. That's so cool. Instead of just jumping into a conversation, you're actually walking them through your system. That's powerful. Well, another thing is about, I know we've both learned a lot about limited thinking and how limited thinking can really just lower your zest for life, and I know you're an expert at identifying areas where people are sabotaging their own success. Yeah. In fact, you administer an assessment, I believe, called the Saboteur assessment. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit more about how we as humans sabotage our success?
Yeah. So one of the certifications that I have is through this program called Positive Intelligence. And it's called PQ for short, positivity quotient, like an IQ or an EQ. So our brains, they are focused on the negative. And it takes 3 positive thoughts to balance out 1 negative thought. And the problem is we're having the other ratio. We're having 3 negative thoughts to every 1 positive thought. So we want to focus on the positivity. And how do we do that? We have to identify what those negative thoughts are. And depending on how you specifically sabotage yourself is what are those negative thoughts going through your brain. So there's been a lot of brain science behind this. It's kind of one of the things that I really get off on is the brain science behind everything. So they've done a lot of studies and people think there's thousands of ways that we sabotage ourselves. No, there's only 10. There's only 10. So the first one is the judge, and everybody's got that. We're judging ourselves, we're judging others, we're judging circumstances, but everybody's got Mac Daddy judge. Everybody's got that guy. Then there are 9 accomplice saboteurs, and they come in and they're like, yeah, judge, you're right. right? But they're all different things, different negative thoughts. So like I said, the pleaser is one of them, the avoider, the victim, things we've all heard about, right? And then there's probably some that you haven't really heard about, things like the hyperachiever, where they can't ever rest on their laurels and like celebrate. They're always like, I got to get to that next mountain, next mountain, next mountain. So it's exhausting. We have the hypervigilant, who's just always anxious and worrying all the time. So there's different ones that maybe you haven't heard about. So this assessment actually is like any personality assessment, takes like 10 minutes, and it tells you what are your top saboteurs, accomplished saboteurs. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where is this one? And then what I do is I take people through looking at this assessment, and I say, oh, so this is probably what's happening. They're like, oh my God, yes. Now, identifying the negative is one way. How do we get to the positive? So the negative thoughts live in the left hemisphere of our brain. It's where that fight or flight reptilian brain kind of lives in our actual skull. And then there's the positive circuitry lives in the right hemisphere, which is where the empathy circuitry is. And so our goal is to get the neurons firing from the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. Because if you're stuck in that saboteur mode, solutions don't live there, right? You're never going to find a solution to whatever problem you're dealing with. Like, it's just chaos. So you want to get into a more positive mindset where you can be creative and see the true picture. So how you do that is through things called PQ reps. And it's just a way to get out of your brain and into your body. They're only 10 seconds in length, and you can stack them, but they're just like rubbing your two fingertips together with such intensity that you can feel all the ridges in both fingertips. Or maybe it's just deep breathing and focusing on the rising and falling of your chest or stomach. So you can use all of your senses to kind of, okay, I'm hijacked right now. Let me just get back to, they call it SAGE, the positivity part of my brain. It's really fascinating.
That is. That is fascinating. I'm going to catch myself rubbing my fingers together the rest of this podcast.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I had a client that said she was on a road trip with a friend who was just annoying the crap out of her. And she was like, I was doing my PQ rep like this. I said, this isn't a PQ rep. This is that's just doing it in anger, right?
What does PQ stand for? PQ reps?
Positivity quotient.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
How easy is it for people to know their saboteurs? Do they know it quickly, or does it take them a long time to figure it out, or just do they need to take the assessment? Sounds like.
I think some people are further along in their personal development journey. They may know, like, I knew I was a people pleaser. I just say yes because I want everybody to like me, right? I've known that for a long time. However, when you start reading these reports that come with the assessment, like, here's where maybe it came from childhood, and whether you've had a perfect childhood or a crappy childhood, like, we all have saboteurs. It's just how the brain works. So it's like, this is maybe where it came from. Here's the thoughts you're having. And you're like, oh, so it just allows you, even if you know that you kind of go into that energy of a pleaser, gets you in a deeper level of understanding where it comes from. What are those thoughts? Oh yeah, I hear those thoughts, or maybe I don't even hear those thoughts, but I do feel that way. So it just gives them a deeper sense of the saboteurs that maybe they already know. And then some people are like clueless. But either way, it gives you a really good insight, this assessment.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. When somebody's looking for a coach, right? Because there's obviously numerous coaches out there for different things, right? And not only just for real estate, but for anybody who's looking for a coach, what are some of the things they should be looking for and identifying to make sure it's a good fit? And should they be, interviewing multiple people, obviously, before they make a decision on who their coach is going to be, who they're going to pick?
Yeah. Like I said, I've had a coach for a long time, different types of coaches based on what I wanted to do. So I hired a productivity coach because I wanted to get my production up, and it worked. Sometimes we would talk a little bit about mindset, but mostly about production and activities, right? And then when I wanted to focus more on, my personal journey, I switched to a transformational coach. So I think it really depends on what you are looking for. And real estate is just full of coaches. Am I right?
Yes.
Full. There's a lot. And a lot of them have their own special little way of doing things, right? Or they're like, this is how I built my business, do it my way. Like I said, I was by referral. If I had gone to one of those coaches that said, you've got a cold call, I would have been like, I'm out. Nope, not me. Never, ever. Nope. I would rather die. So you have to understand who you are, what you're looking for. And it's like dating. You have to be able to feel comfortable with them because it's a safe space. It's like therapy. You have to feel comfortable enough to really bare your soul to your coach and be honest. So if you don't feel like, warm and fuzzies when you're talking to the person, like, I don't know, I'm just not jiving, no harm, no foul. We all are different people. So you want to make sure that there's somebody that you really resonate with. Now, coaching as an industry is kind of the Wild West. So real estate, we have NAR, right? We have the governing body, then we have our state and our county boards. In coaching, there is a governing body called the ICF, International Coach Federation. You do not have to be a member to call yourself a coach. So if you're looking for a true coach, you want to make sure that they are a member of the ICF. Why? Because there's 3 different levels of coaches, the ACC, the PCC, which is what I am, and the MCC. And it's based on how many hours you've coached people. So like I'm a PCC, which is a professional certified coach. It means I've coached more than 500 hours. We have to pass an ethics exam. We have to jump through certain hoops to show our proficiencies. We have to record coaching calls and send them in to be evaluated. So the standard is very high to be an ICF coach. I don't think people know that because you see all these people that are like, I'm a life coach. They may or may not be certified. They may have just decided that they want to be a coach and, they give good advice. Good advice is different than a coach, right? You want
That's
somebody
great.
Certified.
Yeah, I did not know that. So that's a great point because you obviously want somebody that has done what you're trying to do, right? So that they have a track record like you do. And then also, the certifications that go into it and everything, make sure that they're actually a coach instead of just making the decision earlier that morning that they wanted to be a coach.
Everybody says I have like such good advice. Like I'm going to be a life coach. That's why I don't call myself a life coach, even though I kind of am. I feel like that term's been hijacked. I don't like it.
Wow. Yeah.
So it sure seems like there's a lot of companies out there that have their own proprietary method, their secret sauce on how they coach, right? And it's kind of like if you go into that particular environment, you're going to follow their way. And one of the reasons that we were put together by a mutual friend of ours, Shannon and I and a few other coaches have formed a soon to be announced company. We're very excited about it. And we're all very collaborative when we bring different things to the game. We're going to be offering a different menu of services that can touch all agents. So there's going to be a lot of choice involved. Can you give Shannon, our audience, a little bit of a sneak peek on what we're going to be providing for our future clients and how excited we are because we think we're different. We bring a different flavor to this industry. Could you share a little bit about what we're about ready to launch?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's so many coaching companies out there. And look, it's not a bad thing, but they're usually in one lane. So in the past, I've coached with Buffini, I've coached with Maps, we've got Tom Ferry, we've got Ninja. Like there's all kinds of coaching companies, right? But they're usually like one lane. Like this is our way. So what we've decided as a group of coaches is we definitely want to be different. And everybody is leaning into their own strengths and bringing something different to the table. So it's not one person or one methodology. It's kind of encompasses all parts of what it's like to be an agent. So whether you want to get into production, like you're going to be working with Jeff. Jeff's got the systems to get you up and running fast, right? If you are struggling with accountability, we have one coach, like that's her main thing. She's like, I love accountability, right? We have another coach who she is a ninja coach. So she's going to bring that into her presentations. And then we have 2 coaches, myself and one other guy, who have background in all the brain science. He's got a degree in psychology. I have all the coaching certificates. So we are going to be talking about the mindset and how do you get out of your own way and how do you create a fulfilling life while building this big business. So we've got not just one way to do it, but like, okay, based on where you are in your journey, like which one of us do you really need to like be sitting with and digging deep into? So yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah, probably one of the most exciting things I've done in my career, honestly, just learning from each other collaboratively and bringing people in and saying, look, these are all the choices you have. And we're going to be doing some pretty cutting edge stuff. So stay tuned for that announcement.
Yeah.
So back to you, Chase.
So thinking more on the ICF and the PCC and stuff that you were mentioning before, are there any other accreditations that you have that you kind of use as you help clients that kind of set yourself apart from other coaches?
Yeah, I love learning. If you are in personal development, like that's got to be your jam, right? So yes, I have a lot of certifications. So I have the PCC with the ICF, as I mentioned. The main coaching school I went to is called the Coactive Training Institute, or CTI. And so I'm a certified coach through that. So those initials are the CPCC, Certified Professional Coactive Coach. I'm also a master practitioner of NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, which if you know Tony Robbins, that's kind of what he does. It's about pattern recognition, pattern interruption. So I have a master practitioner certificate in that, which also trained me to do something called MER, which is mental and emotional release. And believe it or not, hypnotherapy. I have hypnotized people. I don't use it usually in my coaching, but I am certified to put you in a trance. So, and then the positive intelligence saboteur, I'm a certified coach with that as well. So you can't stop me. If there's a certification, I'm like, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah, that is a lot of learning, man. That is awesome.
Yeah. You know, I hope that you put me in a trance someday. First of all, that'd be kind of cool. But you know what? Seriously, to bring up a person like you on who's totally invested in your career, that's meaningful to me. It's like you've gone all in. You've totally mastered this coaching niche. And you've been doing this now as an independent for like 5 years, right? About 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what have you learned about yourself? I know you give a lot of advice, but like since you started this journey, give me some ahas on how you've changed through this process.
Well, a lot. I mean, a lot. Not only as a coachee for many years, but then all the training as a coach. So my main coaching school, if you can imagine when you're learning how to be a coach, you have to practice on each other. So we're not only practicing on each other, but then we're getting coached by other people for hours a day. So it's very intense. And, you know, growing up, I thought, well, if I make a lot of money, that should be a good thing. And then when I did, I found that wasn't my driver. And I had to like pivot and find out what was my, what was it that really like drives me, and it was not easy to walk away from a huge business like I had, when your GCI is 480 or whatever, and it's like, I was like, people are going to think I'm an idiot. Right. But I had the clarity through my journey in personal development that yes, it's scary, but it's worth it because I had a vision for my life. And I think so many of us, especially in real estate, we just get into this reactionary mode where we're just reacting to everybody and putting out fires constantly, and we're not driving our own journey. So that to me was huge, that I had the time and the space when I was training to become a coach to really lovingly step into, this new thing and create I moved states, I changed careers, like I just blew up everything, and I couldn't be happier, seriously.
I mean, talk about transformation. You were this huge producing agent, right? And you talked earlier in the podcast about self-worth and legacy. And so since you've been a coach, now do you have that back? Do you feel like you're in the right place where you're meant to be?
So my purpose is to connect deeply and make a difference. That's it. That's my big why. Connect deeply and make a difference. And I can bring that into any part of my life, whether I'm having a deep conversation with a coaching client or with a friend or my son. Oh my God, can you imagine having me as your mom? I mean, we have Chase, like I said, he's your age. We have some deep, deep conversations about life. He is so far I mean, me at 30, I was an idiot. He is amazing, right? So I get so energized by having these deep conversations, and then knowing that if I walked out of my house right now and I got hit by a bus, I'd be like, okay, I think I'm good. I don't want to, because I want to keep, impacting people's lives, but yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's that's great. And yeah, like you said, just giving all that up, that's going all in, right? That's what it takes. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but going all in, and that's what it's about.
Who wants to live a small life? Like, if you have a dream, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. And you said we're not here for long, man. We're not here for long.
Dude, from 30 to 60, like that.
Oh, that's the truth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I believe in the burn the boats philosophy, right, in life, because if you're just sticking your toe in the water, it's very difficult to be successful. You got to go all in, and you got to believe there's no other options.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So Shannon, if for, we obviously have a lot of other real estate agents that listen to the show. If somebody was doing, let's say, like 6 deals a year, and they came to you and they're like, hey, I want to really grow my business and do like 24 deals in a year, 2 a month, what would be some of the tactics that you would give them starting out, kind of an insight of, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Go and do it now.
Well, it's the basics, right? So some new agents, if they're only doing 6 deals a year, they may not know their conversion rates. They don't have enough data. Okay, well, let's just assume that it sucks and it's 50%. Okay. If you want to do 24 transactions on average, 2 a month, then you're going to have 4 appointments a month to get 2, right? Now, you've got fallout. So let's just add 1 more, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to help them craft a plan and keep them accountable to those 5 appointments this month. I've talked a couple times about my weekly planning sessions that I do. It's not just about putting crap on your calendar and hoping it happens. I slow down with my clients. I have them reflect. It's the same thing I would do with their transactions. What did you learn this month? Did you go on 5 appointments? If so, how did it feel? If you didn't, how does that feel? What do you need to do to get your 5 next month? Or maybe we need to do 6 next month. What did you learn? What are you going to do something different? Right? So you've got to be able to pivot along the path in order to get to that thing. Because if you're just going, well, I have to have these appointments every month, and you're not reflecting and saying, oh, well, I need to change something. You get to October, November, you're like, oh, shit, I'm not going to reach 24. Right? So it really, again, boils down to the basics. Okay, what's the conversion rate? How many appointments do you need? Just get those appointments.
So you start with the goal in the end in mind, and then you reverse engineer it all the way back to all the activities they have to do on a daily basis, and make sure it's calendarized and they're reflecting on how they're doing.
Yeah.
The reflecting part too, right? I mean, that resonates. You could be doing the same exact thing, right? And if you're not getting the result, they call that insanity. So you got to be able to shift and make a shift if it's not working, right? Mix it up a little bit, try something different, and see if if that works.
Well, and I do it with my clients every week. So on Saturday mornings, I'm on the East Coast. I do it from 10 to 11. So if you're on the West Coast, it'd be earlier. But we take an hour and we reflect on the past week. We're like, what are our successes? Because the brain's not focused on that. It's like, what was a win this week? And people are like, oh, shit, I didn't even think about that. Oh, yeah, I did get a lot of stuff done. Oh, my gosh. And, what did I learn and what might I do differently? And then we look at the week ahead and we're like, okay, so what's on the radar? What's already on there? Oh, gosh, I got that thing on Friday night. I totally forgot about that. Oh, okay. And then we pick, who do we need to be? Who do we need to be this week? And if you're reflecting and doing that every week, it's much easier to catch those little pivots you need to do along the way. Like, oh, I was supposed to have an appointment this week and I didn't. Okay. So what are you going to do this coming week? Well, I need to get 2. Well, who do you need to be to get those 2? I need to be a badass this week. All right. Let's do it. Be a badass. Okay. What does a badass do? Like, a badass gets up early and and so it's all that. But if you're doing it every week, it's much easier to get on top of anything that, might put you behind.
Yeah. We love being badasses here, don't we, Chase?
That's right, man. Yeah. Winners only. Winners only. So what do you say to an agent, Shannon, that says, I don't need a coach?
Well, besides that initial laughter, everybody needs a coach, not just agents, but everybody. If you think about the people that are succeeding at a high level in sports, right, in business, I learned about more types of coaches in my coaching journey. So there are obviously business coaches, for CEOs and C-suite and all that stuff. But there are coaches for people with ADHD. There are coaches for people that are going through, like, they're having to be caregivers for their elderly parents. There are so many different things that everything's new in this chapter. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, there's somebody that's been there and can coach you through it so that you can do it more effectively and come out on the other end with half a brain still intact, right? Instead of losing your mind. So I highly recommend coaching for everything.
I am so tracking with you on this. I believe this so deeply because, in certain times of my life, my pride got in the way and I didn't think I needed it. My ego got in the way. Like, for example, during COVID, I lost so many good friends to COVID, including my dad. And I was like, I don't need it. And I finally agreed to go see a therapist, a counselor. And you know what that first hour was like, Shannon? All he did is say, just tell me how you're doing. I cried for 1 hour straight. I literally didn't cry. I sobbed. And I was like, well, that wasn't a really good conversation, but I got all of it out.
Exactly what you needed.
Right. And then that just kind of set the stage. And why I'm sharing this because I think everyone needs help. And if you're going to be the Lone Ranger in this world, you're going to be very lonely. And we're so much better together, And I hope people are really hearing what you're saying right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I would totally agree. Whether it's therapy or coaching or something in between, we do need help. We do need help. And whether it's with our mindset or I need a system for my business,
Yeah.
I got you. My clients come to the call. Sometimes they want to talk business. All right, we'll talk business and I'll share with you like my buyer, presentation or whatever. And sometimes they come and they're like, and so we work on mindset, Yeah,
that's good. So what do you like the most about coaching and what do you dislike the most?
Well, what I like most is it really aligns with my purpose. So I'm having a lot of deep conversations with people all the time. So I end the day pretty energized because I'm being energized throughout the day because that's what it is to live in your purpose, right? Instead of like sliding in like exhausted like I did when I was in production. So that's what I love the most about it. I would say that the biggest challenge for me as a coach is being by myself, being at home. So I went from being out on the road, driving a couple 100 miles a day, going here, going there, being around people to working at home. Now, I do like working at home for a lot of reasons. However, it's such a big swing the other way that I find that I purposely have to, like if I'm feeling low energy, I'm like, I got to go to the grocery store or something. Like I got to get out of here. So that can be a challenge, which is why I'm super excited about our coaching company that we're starting, because it's not one coach, like we're all together. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And speaking of that, and, by the way, my friends, we have had a true expert in this field today, Shannon Miller-Lutz. And Shannon, tell us a little bit about some projects you're working on in 2025. What are you excited about as we move through this year?
Yeah, well, so besides the coaching company that we're trying to launch or working on launching, I'm working on being more podcast guest, right? That's my big thing. Like I have a background in theater, which is why I'm a big Broadway, stalker. So I have a background in performance. That's what I studied in college. I was a vocal performance theater minor, and a vocal performance major, theater minor. And I've taught a lot. I like being on stages. I like presenting. And I was like, I should be getting paid for this. So I'm working on, becoming a keynote speaker and in service of that, being more guest on podcasts like this one. So if anyone knows another podcast that they're like, hey, Shannon would be great for that, I would love the introduction. So that's a big arc of a goal this year. And then with my business, So I was really called, I think I kind of alluded to this earlier, not only focusing on real estate agents, but a women's group. And so I had been working last year with a speaker coach to create a retreat. And the retreat didn't happen because it landed between our two hurricanes. We had Hurricane Helene, and then we had Hurricane Milton 2 weeks later. And the weekend was in between. So it didn't happen. So I'm hoping that I can still do that this year. It's a women's retreat. You don't have to be in real estate. It's really for more of those women like you, we were talking about, how they're just kind of feeling empty and like, who am I outside of like being a mom or a wife or a worker? So if you're interested in learning more about my women's retreat, reach out to me on my website, smlcoaching.com. There's a contact me form. You'll see on the main page, there's like, click here to learn, more about being a coach as a real estate agent, and then click here and here's our women's group. So I have that. I have free download on my website. I'm going to be adding to that. And what I'd really like to offer your listeners is, besides the free download on my website, is, we talked about the assessment for positive intelligence. So what I'd like to offer your listeners is take the assessment, let's get on a call, and I'll kind of coach you through those saboteurs, the way you're getting in your way, and how to use the brain science to get past those limiting lies that the saboteur is telling us. So all you have to do is go to my website, contact me form, just say, hey, I heard you on Jeff's podcast. I really want to talk to you about this assessment. We'll get on a call and we'll get that lined up.
Wow. And one more time, your website is, again?
SML, my initials, smlcoaching.com. So when I was in real estate, it was at the SML group. And my husband's in advertising. And I said, my initials are small, medium, and large. So my tagline for real estate was the right fit for your real estate need. See what I did there? Small, medium, and large.
Very nice.
Yeah. And a lot of people just call me SML. So it's SML.
I can see you're good at theater. I'm getting that vibe. I love it. Wow. Today, what a great guest. This has been a great conversation. I've learned so much. It just pumps me up even more that we're going to be in business together, because you're so talented. And so guys, if you need somebody of a high skill like Shannon, she's devoted her career, she's invested in herself and her people that she coaches. I hope you reach out to her. I'll tell you right now, Chase and I are busy. A lot of people are like, oh, geez, affordability is kind of difficult. And yeah, it definitely is. But I'll tell you this, Chase and I are very, very busy. I'll be launching one listing next week, $2.735 million. The next week, $2.9 million. Chase is busier than all get out right now. And he's constantly running people around every day, showing homes. Deals are getting done. And right now, Chase's wheelhouse is he's getting people into a lot of new home construction projects with interest rates at 5.25% last week. So don't let the media and the narrative get you down. Come to us and let us see what we can do for you. Let's see what your purchasing power is. We can do a market assessment on your home for free, no obligation. We just want to help you. So, I've got 25 years in. Chase has 6 years of construction background. And by the way, first year in the business, Chase put 13 deals in escrow. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad, right, Shannon? Not bad. So I think it's just the beginning for him. I'm excited about his future. And Shannon, what a delight this has been to have you today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun talking about life. That's what it is. That's what it's all about.
I love it. Thank you again. If you want to check out our website, just go to jeffsutherland.com. We're on there. And then you can go to the Jeff Sutherland Show. I hope that you invite your friends to listen to our show. And we love your feedback. So with that being said, everyone have an amazing day. Thanks, Shannon, so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. See you later.
Bye.